Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast. We're doing a little something different today. Got me and Valentina Brega on the podcast today to talk about building effective teams that can take your business to the next level. We're doing this joint podcast today because both Val and I, one, we work closely together to help build each other's teams, but also we're just obsessed about building teams. And I think it would be really cool just for us to riff a little bit on what has worked for us when we work with Val and what just kind of works in general to build and lead teams. So if you don't know me, my name is Adam Whitney. I am the CEO of Seven Figure Flipping and Blackjack Real Estate. And Val, why don't you do an introduction?
My name is Val. Like you said, I worked with you. How many years ago was it? Like 3.5, 4 years ago when I had this, I had a job in a real estate company when I first moved to the United States. And, it was, it was great. I was the person qualifying leads over the phone. I learned a lot about real estate because I knew nothing about real estate. And now, 6 years later, since I came to the US, I am leading a company where I hire and train virtual assistants. And I've been helping so many entrepreneurs, scale their companies, grow their teams, and reach seven figures in their companies with the help of international talent.
I think that's a really important distinction. So virtual assistants could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Can you talk about what is a virtual assistant that's international? What does that mean?
I always say that if something can be done on a computer or on the phone, it can be done by anyone, anywhere in the world. And I truly mean it. There's a huge global pool of talent that you can fish in. And a lot of entrepreneurs are not aware that this opportunity exists, that they can actually work with international virtual assistants and they can leverage that pool of talent. But they are professionals, who are in other countries and who can work on the US market in our time zone at a much more affordable rate than you would pay somebody in the United States, for the same level of quality, maybe sometimes better in certain situations.
That's a really important distinction too. So for some people it'd be like, well, what do you mean? They work for me? They don't work for me? But I'll just, a little bit of insight is, 2023 and 2024 for most businesses across a lot of industries, were constrained, right? So the real estate market had the least amount of transactions that it's had since 1995. Prices are rising and profits are not rising. So a lot of industries got constrained in their business, which means their costs start to outrun their profit. And you naturally look for places to become more efficient. Most businesses, their two top cost expenses are marketing and people. Mm-hmm. And when you take what Val is teaching and what Val does for people in their companies is she finds offshore talent for U.S. businesses. And for me personally, in our real estate business at Blackjack, our entire team, except for me and Lindsay, is a virtual assistant. And Val has staffed our entire company. So think about that. My entire company is staffed. What's really cool is our teammates that are virtual in other countries are paid extremely well. But here in the US, it's not a lot of money. But where they're from, it's a lot of money. So as an example, all of our virtual assistants nobody makes less than $6 an hour. And if you're in the US, you're like, that's peanuts. In their country, most people are making $2 or $3 an hour and they're making double and sometimes triple that. We have VAs making way more than that. So it's really powerful. So you can get cheaper cost of labor and get members from all over the world with really incredible talents. And you're also serving them because it's actually a lot of money where they're from. So I know it's a lot for people to wrap their mind around, but this is becoming more and more common in today's marketplace as you have constraints with rising cost and minimizing profits. So how do you get more efficient? Well, people are always the key, right, Val? And you're going to probably talk about this. People are the key to growth. Mm-hmm. How can I get good talent and not have to spend a fortune to do it? We've done that in Blackjack. We've created, our whole team is virtual assistants. We have a guy who's overseas, who's closing deals over the phone. He'll probably make 6 figures this year. And he just bought his first investment property in his own home country. It's incredible, literally life-changing stuff. So, how is it possible, Val, though, to build a team when everybody is virtual? Like how can you do that? And if I hire a virtual assistant, like, are they an employee? Are they not an employee? How does that work?
Right. I say don't treat your virtual assistant as a freelancer. Treat them as an employee, even though they're not your employee, not legally. They're not U.S. residents. They're not U.S. citizens, but it doesn't mean that they are different. It doesn't mean they're not a crucial part of your company, of your team. So treat them as an important, crucial, team member, just as you would treat somebody here locally. And virtual assistants, I have to make this precision, like what you said, Leo, your entire staff is made of VAs. They're not just people who do data entry or little things here and there. They're actually capable of a lot more sophisticated responsibilities like closing leads, doing transactions coordination. What else do they do? Again, they can help with anything that's on the computer, on the phone, talking to people, follow-ups, marketing, you name it. I mean, we have placed people in marketing, copywriters, bookkeepers, video editors, social media managers, you name it, we've done it. Our most recent placement was somebody who is doing a TikTok brand ambassador, or like to build brands on TikTok. So, I mean, again, and that person is on the other side of the planet. So what I'm saying is there's no shortage of what virtual assistants can do. The difference, though, in making sure that your team works is really how you approach working with virtual assistants. What would you do differently if they were people right next to you? And I know sometimes when people are in the office, it's easier to build a relationship. It's easier to see what they're working. It's easier to have communications, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it's not impossible to do this with virtual assistants as well. Have meetings. We have daily huddles in our company. We have once a week, we have meetings when we talk about different issues we're facing or different, challenges. And my team comes together with ideas on how to make it work. So when you get their buy-in, it doesn't matter if they're next to you or, again, like I said, the other side of the planet. It's how involved they are and how much they feel like they've been a part of something that's growing, and they love to contribute. I think that's what really makes the difference on how to work with virtual assistants. Meetings, Zoom meetings, daily huddles, weekly meetings. And recently, this is something that I do every quarter, and I think it's a game changer for us. We do one-on-one meetings. Like just sit down. I want to know more about you as a person. What's going on in your life? What goals do you have? How can I help you achieve those goals? I don't expect people to work with me forever, but how can I help you? Maybe, what do you want? How can I be your partner in this? So I've had a very, very loyal team for years now. So I think that's the secret. Just treat them well.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this is the pandemic kind of expedited this opportunity, because most large Fortune 500 companies were forced to have remote workers, have work from home people. Now, obviously that has changed in very recent time. But what we did was we proved to ourselves as a nation that folks could potentially be productive if not being in the office. Now, this isn't an argument about is it better to be in the office or not in the office? This is just about what's possible. And by the letter of the law, the technical aspect of it, the virtual assistants from other countries are not your employees. However, they're humans that are working directly with your company to achieve specific goals. Mm-hmm. So leadership 101 still applies. Business management still applies. You still pay these people for the service on a weekly, monthly, biweekly basis, just like you pay everybody else. And if they were in the States, they would be an employee, but they're not. So it's just technically not how it works. the point for me, and I think the point you were making is to effectively do this, they need to be fully integrated from a leadership perspective, from a feedback perspective, from a roles and responsibilities perspective, from a accountability perspective, all those things, just like somebody here stateside, need to be present for them to be effective. And then you need to have meeting pulses, events, and routine connection with the people, which probably looks like a daily huddle and a Zoom call, a weekly company meeting, a monthly company meeting, one-on-one review and feedback meetings. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is what your goals are. This is what you said you would do. And here's how you're actually doing. The human dynamic doesn't change. Leadership doesn't change. They're just somewhere else. And you're doing a lot of it over Zoom, which, like I said, we proved to ourselves over the pandemic was totally possible. And it can be really powerful because you're getting offshore labor at offshore pricing, but for onshore talent. These are folks who are educated, they have degrees, they've worked at big companies in their own countries, they understand and can be experts at the thing that you're bringing them on for, whether it's bookkeeping. I mean, I have a bookkeeping company where they have some offshore folks in India who are CPAs in the United States. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just as good as somebody else. And then sometimes what we find is they're actually better because their work ethic and their values are slightly different than what you'll see in the States, where people kind of take for granted the opportunities we have here. You find that offshore's labor doesn't take that for granted. They really value the opportunity, which translates to their work ethic. I mean, we've got a guy goes by Alex. He closes deals over the phone for real estate, negotiates them, underwrites them. And while we don't require it, he works 7 days a week because he's having such great success, and it's bringing him so much success in his own personal life. And he enjoys working with the team because of the leadership qualities of the leaders on our team, that it's causing massive success for the company. So he's successful, the company's successful, and it's just a great way to increase your margin in a constrained environment.
Absolutely. And I think maybe some people, when they hear this, they might say something like, I work with virtual assistants. I'm not sure what you're talking about because that's not the experience I had. Here's something that I will have to say. There's no shortage of virtual assistants out there, but the good ones, the ones you were talking about, they are not as easy to find. And here's why. Because when you said they might make $2 or $3 an hour in their countries, actually some countries make $5 a day. So when they make $5, $6, $7 an hour, it's a huge difference, and it's attractive to them. So of course, a lot of people apply. It doesn't mean all of them are good. They like this, the amount of money they can get. So, but that being said, you still have to qualify them. You still have to put them to a test. I think that's very important because people want to get job as a virtual assistant. They will have this perfect resume that's done with AI or these templates that they use. There's a lot of things, but listen to subtleties when you interview them. It's still an art to find the right people, just like you would find somebody here in the United States. It's like, it's still, not everybody is good, but finding the good ones like you have, it's, that's the difference.
I think that's an important thing to note. So if if you feel like you're in a normal company with no offshore labor, if you want to go out and get the best salesperson or get the best marketing person, a lot of companies will go out and pay a headhunter $20,000 to go out and find their COO, to go out and find their sales director. You have a model that we use with your platform where you place VAs. So we pay you way less than $10,000 to place somebody. And what we love about it is it cuts all the noise away from us as a company. So just in our experience, you screen all these people down to what you deem to be the best. Mm-hmm. But we don't have to just take the one person you say. We actually get to go to your draft board, which is on your online portal, and and look through all the people who are applying for a certain type of position, see what their personality profile is, their typing speed, their internet speed, their IQ, their English skills, all tested. And then there's 2 recordings up there of their interviews that your team does with them. And we get to kind of watch those. And of the 100 or so people on there, we pick the 3 that we feel are the best fit for us. And then we interview them. So we literally just cut out hours, days, weeks, months of time out of the process to get right to the best people. And then we get to choose, hey, I want to hire these 2 people, this 1 person, these 3 people, to come work with our company. And I'll tell you, Val, because you know this, we have, our whole team is from your company. You've placed all of our talent in our blackjack team. And then the one time a few weeks ago, we decided to go with somebody who just reached out to us on social media, reached out to Lindsay, seemed super motivated. We didn't really do a lot of screening. We just kind of did 1 interview. English sounded great. Everything they said was great. We hired that person on the very first day. We caught that they were working for 2 people at once, and that person was let go. And I remember, because I'm sitting in the office with Lindsay, and we're like, okay, let's make sure we don't hire outside of HireTrainVA again, because that was a complete dumpster fire. That's something we screen for. And we have a very strict policy on moonlighting, because we think it's like, serving 2 masters. It's not going to do, it's not helping anyone, but we want that virtual assistant to be loyal and dedicated to you. We have seen the most successful companies, like out of all the companies, everyone we work with, or maybe who haven't worked with us, but like all successful companies, they grow their own team in-house, because you share your values, you share your culture, you share your way of doing things. So we have a very strict policy against moonlighting. We don't think that. I think that those virtual assistants who are servicing multiple clients, they are short-sighted, and they might be chasing the next dollar, and they don't realize that they have a lot more to gain if they find a good company and they grow with that company, and they continue bringing value, because that's going to open a lot of more opportunities for them in the future. Absolutely. And because I've talked to people that they can't really wrap their mind around the fact that we have virtual assistants doing a lot of this stuff in our company. And the common questions I get are all surrounded by trust and how to pay them. So it's but if you give them access, couldn't something bad happen? And then how do you pay them? So what do you tell people when they ask that? It's not exclusive to virtual assistants. I actually had a podcast myself with a person we work with, and he said that his executive assistant from the United States, took his credit card and used to pay her mortgage, whatever. So this was someone local, and he was like, no, I need someone international. So a lot of these fears that people have when it comes to virtual assistant, they could easily happen here in the United States as well. Luckily, there are ways that you can secure yourself. It's not I will always say trust the person. You have to trust the person before you give more access to more personal information, but there are ways to secure themselves. So for example, in our company, I share all my passwords using LastPass. So if somebody needs to leave the company, or if somebody is let go, that doesn't happen often, but I just deny access. I don't have to change the whole passwords. Okay. In addition to that, a lot of the platforms, they have different rights, for example, in Facebook, you have different, whether you have editing rights or just viewer rights. The same thing with everything. Even if you hire a bookkeeper, QuickBooks has a bookkeeper's access. So it limits the interaction, it limits what that person can do. Even banks here in the United States, even banks have different access levels for different people. You just have to call them, set an account for your person. I spoke with an entrepreneur, and he said, my bank didn't have it, so I had to change the banks just because I wanted to be able to delegate this, to outsource this task and not have to worry about them having total control over my account. So there are so many things in place. And I think you're right. I think maybe it comes from the pandemic, when people realized that, hey, working remotely is sometimes, at that time was a necessity, but it's also possible, it's effective. So let's change the model. Let's give people different levels of access. So it's not, in a way you secure yourself more. Yeah. And what about paying VAs? you see a lot of people like they're hiring really great talent from the Philippines or Egypt or South America. How do you pay VAs? Like, how are VAs paid? Are there softwares? Are there systems? Like, do they have bank accounts? Like, maybe you can demystify some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on where your VA is from, there's different platforms and systems that work best for their country. I'm going to start with probably the most common, and definitely the most common place where you can get virtual assistants. That's the Philippines. So if you have a virtual assistant from the Philippines, or if you're thinking of getting someone from there, use wise.com. It's a super simple platform to use. I recently helped someone set it up. It took us about 5 minutes. Super simple to use. You attach your bank information, and then you pay the virtual assistant from there. I pay my team, and I highly recommend that you pay your team as well twice a month, on the 15th and the last day of the month. I don't know. What do you pay, Adam? Is that what you do as well? Do you pay weekly?
Most of our people are weekly. So I have like my assistant. I have an admin assistant who's a VA in the Philippines. Her name's Camille, who keeps my life organized, my email organized, who helps me with some of my social media stuff, helps me with schedule travel, things like that. She's on, I think, 1st and the 15th, kind of a flat fee type thing.
I see.
The folks in Blackjack who are doing the real estate activities are paid every week, right? In our company. So yeah, we've got different people on different things. And then my guy who's closing deals he's in Egypt. He's getting a commission just like somebody in the US would be. That's why he's going to make 6 figures this year of US
That's
dollars.
amazing. I love this so much. But yeah, I mean, if you have somebody on the team who can do the payroll weekly, that's fine. The VAs would love to be paid weekly. I'll tell you that. Like, everybody wants to get paid every Thursday or Friday or whatever it is. But for me, in my case, I pay my team, like I said, twice a month, on the 15th and the last day of the month. And the reason for that is because every platform they take, actually Wise takes a percentage, so it doesn't really matter. But there are some platforms. So if you have virtual assistants from South America, there's a platform that charges you a flat fee per transaction. So it makes sense to send it twice a month rather than sending it every week, just because you want to lower that expense. It's not a big fee. Usually, if you use Wise, usually you pay about 1%. If you have VAs in Egypt, it's also 1%. You use payoneer.com. So again, depending on where your virtual assistant is from, my recommendation would be, if you're looking to hire a virtual assistant, hire someone who has experience in the field that you're looking to, in the solving the problem you want them to solve. And that means they have also worked on the US market before. Ask them how they want to be paid, or what they used to be paid before. But when you go with our company, we hold your hand throughout this whole process. We'll tell you, okay, this is where your VA is from. This is how you can set up the payment system. This is how often you pay them. Like, we kind of give a lot of hand holding and a lot of guidance on how to work with VAs and how to set up LastPass and everything, how to track their time, how to make sure how to make sure they're actually doing the work they're supposed to be doing. Like, we as a company, we go through all of that, all of those steps with you.
That's the other thing too. So like the technology is just so good today. Wise and Payoneer and all the platforms connected to Hub staff, which make sure they're doing the work they say they're going to do. Honestly, we don't even use Hub staff, because in our companies, the results will tell us if they're doing the work they're supposed to do. But it goes back to leadership, because we have very clearly defined roles and responsibilities. We have very clearly defined metrics. Like, you pretty much couldn't be on my team if you weren't hitting your metrics. If you're not hitting your metrics, you're probably because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You can't work 2 jobs. You can't be doing this for 4 hours a day when you should be doing it for 8 hours a day, or otherwise you wouldn't hit your metrics. So it's all about leadership. It's all about setting expectations. It's all about, helping that person to understand their path to success. So, we talk about this all the time, Val. When you get somebody new on your team, whether they're States or virtual or wherever, you have a responsibility to onboard them into your company. So even if I hire through HireTrainVA.com, which I do, they still have to assimilate to us, our team, our culture, our standards. So we have to have an onboarding process. We got to get them up in our Slack channel and up on their email. And then we've got to talk to them about what the first 30 days looks like, what the first 2 weeks looks like. Do we have any internal training that is unique to our company? Because I could hire a bookkeeper, for example, and they aren't used to the way that I categorize things in my QuickBooks, then I've got to show them what that is. They're not just going to know. I've seen a lot of people hire virtual assistants and just assume they're going to come in and make magic happen. I got a little bit of a secret to tell you. Even if you hired somebody in the States into your company and you give them zero direction, they're probably also going to flounder. So it just goes back to leadership. And I think the most underestimated thing in scaling and growing a company is when you bring on people. So typically we hire out of pain. I'm so busy. I've got so many things going on. I need help. So then I go out and I hire out of pain, but I'm so busy that I can't actually help that person help me. Because when you hire, it's actually one step backwards to make two steps forward. And that one step backward is you pouring in, committing to a clear path and plan for that person to succeed on your company's behalf. If you're unwilling to do that, you're going to just have a hard time really growing and scaling, because you're going to say, oh, that person didn't get it. They didn't do a good job. And it's probably you. Honestly, it's probably you. You didn't take the time to set a clear role and responsibility, to show a path to winning, to train them to the uniqueness of your company. And that's what I see in the marketplace all the time. And that's when we have failed, it has probably been because of our inability to lead effectively.
I absolutely agree with this. And even the VA that you mentioned, Alex, he was placed with someone else before. And entrepreneurs sometimes tell us, like, it's me. I completely understand. I don't have the volume. I don't have the right vehicle to put this amazing driver in. It's kind of like a car race. You can have the best driver in the world, but you can't put them in a Honda or whatever. They got to be in a sports car, in order to win the race. So the vehicle is just as important. So entrepreneurs sometimes tell us, like, this is, I need Alex, the VA you had, he was like, I need more volume, right? So, and I like when entrepreneurs they realize that. A lot of them don't, but sometimes they do. So those who don't, they say, like, oh, it's the VA. But we place the same virtual assistant with someone else and they are crushing it. And even Lindsay told me, like, he's like one of the best we've had, like the best closers ever, right? So
yeah, US or virtual. And it's not because he's got some like crazy unique sales skills, which he does have sales skills. He has qualities, human qualities that you look for regardless of where the person's at or from. Number one, he's a lifelong obsessive learner. Mm-hmm. He wants to know how everything works. Number two, he follows process. So we outline a process and he follows it and he trusts it until he's successful. Number three, he is a man of integrity. He does what he says he's going to do. And then number four, he's got a work ethic that is parallel to none. Before we even talk about what he's capable of, he has these qualities that allow him to really just succeed in whatever opportunity he's given. Our job was just to give him the best opportunities possible.
Exactly. He was the perfect vehicle. That's what I'm saying. Like, our job as a company, we want to give you the best people. We want to find the best people, but also, but that means you as a business owner, in order to grow, you have to not just hire people. It's not hire and forget. You also you hire people not to scale companies. I actually say this all the time. Let me just kind of make it clear to all the listeners here. You don't hire people to scale your company. Those people are not responsible to grow your company. You hire people so you can free up your time so that you can scale your company, because that's your responsibility. You're steering the ship. So you hire people to free up your time, because if you're looking to hire people and then get all the time back, so you spend time with the family, go on vacations, go to the gym or whatever hobbies you have, that's not going to get you the results you're looking for. Because now that you have this time available, invest the time into your personal growth and into your company's growth. So your growth is congruent with the virtual assistant.
That is well said, Val. Okay, so if somebody is like in a position where maybe they have some people on their team, or maybe they just want to add their first person, what would their first step be? Should they do some type of delegation exercise? Should they come talk to you guys? Like, how do you even figure out what you need and what you should do if you're like, yes, I need a virtual assistant?
Every business is different. So let's have a chat. Let's see where you are. We do also have a webinar on delegation that I run it live like every week, because there's so many people who are interested in this, and every single time we have new people who's like, I want to learn how to delegate properly. So if that's something you're interested in, if you go to our website HireTrainVA.com, you will find information on how to delegate. It's like literally showing you step by step how to delegate. What's the bottleneck? What's holding you back? Are you working on activities that are aligned with your goal, or are you just keeping yourself busy? Like if you look back on your day, how much of that was meaningful work? What was meaningless work? It's a lot of good stuff in that delegation webinar that we have. It's people get so much clarity of that. So if you want to start there, that's fine.
Why don't we do that, Val? Why don't we put we can put the link to the webinar in the show notes?
That's a great idea.
And if somebody wants to go, okay, I need to figure out what it is I need somebody else to do, which is where a lot of entrepreneurs are, then they probably need to do the delegation exercise that you take them through to figure out what those things are that they need to hire for.
Yes.
And then they can talk to your team. Or if you feel like you're ready to hire, you can just go to HireTrainVA.com and schedule a call with Val's team, which we do, by the way. Literally, every year we're bringing in new talent from them. They staff our company. And we do that because it's the best use of our time. We stay focused on doing what drives our company's growth. Val's company is an expert at staffing the right people. So it makes sense for us to keep focusing on our revenue generating activities and then outsourcing a good staffing that can help us to grow to somebody who's an expert at it like Val. So check, if you're ready to do that, just go to HireTrainVA.com and talk to her team. And if you're thinking about it and you're unsure of what you need to hire for, you should definitely do the delegation webinar, which will be linked in the show notes. Whether this is on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, doesn't matter. It'll be in the show notes. You should be able to get to it pretty easy. And I think, what's the cost to do the webinar?
It's free.
It's free. Yeah. Free. So it's like the only risk in doing it is finding out what you need in terms of people to help grow your business. It's crazy.
The riskiest thing about this webinar is you're not doing it, because you are going to be in the exact same spot as you are right now. If you want to change something, if you're really interested in delegating and building your company, you have to be there. It's like I said, like people get, like I get so many requests. I'm still doing this live now. I don't know how much longer I can continue doing it live every week, but you have an amazing opportunity to ask questions, specific questions for your business as we go through the exercises, as we go through everything. And, what I don't want people to like listen to is like, oh, okay, so, I'm going to join next week or next month because I do this every week. It's now for a limited amount of time that I can go into this webinar. Very soon I might do a different one, but right now it's all about delegation. So if you have any questions about that, and I usually get a ton of questions at these events, this is the perfect opportunity to ask me. So we're going to leave the link. That's a good idea.
Cool. Well, Val, this was fun, and I always am excited to talk to you guys and what you guys have going on over at HireTrainVA. And we love your company, your team, Anastasia, Sherry, all the folks that work on your team they're like an extension of our company because we work with you guys so often. So thank you and for being a great leader to that team, and thanks for providing such a great service to the marketplace.
Always a pleasure working with you. Thank you for your trust, and I look forward to giving more virtual assistance to your company as you keep growing.
Awesome. All right. That's it for this one. Leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this, and we'll catch you on the next one.